A teacher at Northside High School in Fort Smith is now on administrative leave after controversy sparked surrounding a test question the school district says was inappropriate and offensive. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer breaks it all down.
Robert Taylor has been a teacher at Northside for more than 23 years. He recently shared a passage with his American literature students from Warriors Don't Cry, a book written by one of the Little Rock 9 members.
With common discussion and common ideology to get together to love and forgive and move forward with all of that. It's a powerful message. And I thought this was a good opportunity for me to share that with the students.
Taylor tested students on the book, saying he got the questions from a school-approved artificial intelligence program.
I gave the state standard that I was trying to address and the goals the students were to do. The purpose was to get those questions prepared so that I could get this very complicated topic put before the students in a fashion that quickly works.
One question asking students to identify a literary device from a quote in the book included a racial slur spelled out in full. The result of AI, Taylor says.
They even trained us on how to use this. At no point did they ever say that there will be words that come out that could be deemed inappropriate, but these are the actual words of the text, so I imagine that must be why the AI did that.
Taylor says he didn't have time to go over the test questions entirely after AI generated them.
I'm not a particular fan of sanitizing history. I'm not a particular fan of people taking words from the history and removing them. Literature is all about great conflict. You cannot have great literature without great conflict. If I remove these words, there is no conflict. You cannot see, you cannot feel the hurt. I get gut punched when I hear those words.
He now has attorney Joey McCutcheon representing him.
Those words were taken from actual texts of Melba bills, and that's true history. And if this district is suggesting that he censor true history, I think that's wrong. This man to be called a racist is unfair, unjust, and anyone who says that don't know what they're talking about. He's a man who complies with state standards.
The incident sparked backlash on social media. Audrey Criswell is a Northside alumni upset over what happened.
It breaks my heart because Northside is one of the most diversified schools.
She says she feels this word can cause harm in what's supposed to be an educational environment.
He should have blocked it out, but what he really should have done was chose another message.
And she says the word has different meaning to her due to lived experiences.
Every day we went home, we were called those names by adults and children. And sometimes after school we would have to fight. But I feel like this time we're going to fight in a different way, not physically, but together as a city.
In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
In a statement, Fort Smith Public Schools says in part, quote, appropriate steps are being taken to ensure accountability, and FSPS will continue to uphold the highest standard of professionalism and respect. Adding, the district remains dedicated to fostering an environment where every student and staff feels valued and respected.
The system has become too complicated, too woke, and far too often doesn't fully prepare students for the jobs of the future.
That was Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders yesterday as she talked about her latest new initiative, this time in regards to higher education for students. She says it will be similar to the LEARNS Act, but will allow students the ability to choose their path to success after high school. It would also make sure high school students don't have to pay out of pocket for taking college courses, increase scholarship funding, and offer in-state tuition for military families.
We're going to be looking at increasing the opportunities that they have before them, and then we're going to be maximizing their outcomes and so they can be as successful as they can possibly be.
Doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result is not going to cut it.
The governor says this legislation should not cost any additional funding. If it passes, she will repurpose money that's already in the budget. The Arkansas House also passed a bill that will force Arkansas public schools to have a policy keeping cell phones out of the classroom. It covers devices such as cell phones, smartwatches, and personal electronic devices. This bill keeps advancing through the legislature, but will need to head back to the Senate to approve exceptions for school devices like tablets. Canopy NWA, a refugee resettlement nonprofit, says the federal government has yet to reimburse them for more than $500,000. This comes after President Donald Trump's funding freeze order that was later rescinded. Now it's turning to the community for help. Some of the programs Canopy offers includes finding refugees a place to live, providing groceries, access to health care, school enrollment, and long-term assistance up to 5 years. Canopy says 68% of its funding is federal dollars. Without it, the nonprofit says it cannot continue operations.
From as early as last fall, December and January till today, we have not been reimbursed for our work for the amount of $584,000. Those are dollars that, support our staff and all of the work for directly supporting refugees in our community. So this is incredibly challenging.
You can visit our website at 5newsonline.com to find resources to help Canopy in its efforts. Avian influenza is still on the rise here in the United States. Arkansas officials are keeping an eye on bird flu cases across the state. 5 News reporter Parker Abels met with some experts to discuss why it's spreading and what bird owners can do to prevent it from reaching their birds.
Avian influenza, or commonly known as the bird flu, is a contagious disease of poultry, and since February of 2022, there's been a large outbreak, and the last 30 days is no different.
Last 30 days, the disease has been found in 159 flocks, 108 of which have been commercial flocks, and then 51 backyard hobby type flocks. And this has been seen in 30 states in the last 30 days. Now the total on that adds up on those flocks to 22.7+ million birds.
However, since 2022, it's killed over 159 million birds across all 50 states. And Dr. Dustin Clark with the University of Arkansas System Division says there are some ways to prevent it.
The best tool we have that we can use to prevent highly pathogenic avian influenza, or for that matter any disease, into a flock of chickens, be it backyard flock or commercial flock, is the term biosecurity. Now, biosecurity is any and all things that can be done to prevent that disease from getting into your flock.
And you should always be careful when you go see your birds.
If you go someplace where we have wild waterfowl, make sure that you clean your shoes before you go visit your chickens. And the reason for that is because wild waterfowl and shorebirds, so we see ducks, geese, swans, and some of the very shorebirds, are the natural reservoir of the influenza virus.
With the rise of the bird flu, the price of eggs increased with it. Andy Carlton, store manager at Farmers Co-op in Elkin, says people are starting to take matters into their own hands and raise the chickens themselves.
So we've seen a lot more calls with people that have never had chickens before, looking to get into chickens or getting baby chicks to try to offset some of the grocery costs when it comes to eggs.
She walks us through what you need to do to start raising your own chickens.
The main things: a feeder, water, chick starter. We always recommend a pine shaving and then some sort of tote or tank to keep them in, and a heat source.
Covering news where you live, Parker Abels, 5 News.
President Trump is at Mar-a-Lago for President's Day weekend. This as his administration remains hard at work making significant changes to the federal government. Trump is talking tariffs. This week, the president announced so-called reciprocal tariffs or import taxes that could reshape global trade and make a range of goods more expensive for Americans to buy. Trump says he plans to increase tariffs to match what other countries charge for imports. And yesterday, he discussed plans to impose a new auto tariff on U.S. trade partners beginning in April. Tonight, Israel is celebrating the return of 3 more hostages, one of them an Israeli American. At the same time, Hamas took a swing at President Trump's plan for rebuilding Gaza by resettling Palestinians outside their territory.
After nearly 500 days in Hamas captivity, it's hard to imagine better news than this. Segi Dekel-Chen, an Israeli-American, hearing for the first time the name of his daughter, born just 2 months after he was kidnapped. Shahar Mazel, his wife Avital tells him. It means Dawn Luck, after a nickname he gave her when she was still in the womb. Hours earlier, Hamas paraded him through Gaza along with fellow hostages Sasha Trufanov and Yair Horn. They were not visibly emaciated like the three who came out last weekend. All three men were kidnapped from Nir Oz, a town left in ruins by the Hamas terror attack on October 7, 2023. Dekel Hen was among the first to confront the terrorists. He was wounded and ultimately taken hostage, away from his family for 16 months. "I want Daddy," his daughter cried. On his way back to Israel, he wrote her and her two sisters a note. Daddy is on his way. As part of the ceasefire, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, but this time dressing them in shirts that read, "We will not forgive or forget." Once they were freed, the shirts were destroyed.
Chris Livesay, CBS News, Tel Aviv.